Music is basically for from the time I was probably 15 to the time I was 30 was my identity. Like it's the only thing I felt like was the thing that made me, you know? So it's been a huge part of my life. The first time I sat down, I never played a piano in my life, never done anything and walk into the garage and sit down and I start playing and I started being able to piece notes together, piece chords together. And it was at that point, I knew this is going to be a part of who I am. I didn't realize where that was going to go now. I was obviously raised in the church, grew up with horrible Christian guilt. Everything I did, I thought I was going to go to hell over, you know. So I became horribly addicted to porn. That was my biggest biggest hang up in life was that. But yet, you fall into it and then you get bombarded with guilt. And then, so this cycle just, it never ends. So anyways, without going into all the details, my wife found out about everything, and I'm already on my second marriage because the first marriage had failed. So, and I just had my first baby at the time. So, I'm in Dallas, Texas. We're at a big convention, a Foursquare convention. I'm leading worship at this event. Amber and I get in a horrible fight again over this whole thing. And I walked out of the building, and the doors I walked out of, they were locked. So I thought I got locked out of the hotel at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm sitting there on the bench, and there's this giant Chase building. And I started for the first time ever, started making plans to finish, to end my life. And it wasn't dramatic. It was just became kind of very matter of fact. This is where I'm going. I'm done. I've hurt everybody. Literally, I've embarrassed my entire family. So anything that I thought of identity was stripped from me, So couldn't get back into the hotel. Ended up taking off walking in downtown Dallas. Almost got stabbed by somebody, but that walking kind of started allowing me to really think through thoughts. So I got back to the hotel, finally found a door that I could get into, and was the next day I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna go to the top of the Chase building, and I'm just gonna jump. Be no better way than to jump off this big, giant, beautiful building. That's how crazy and lost I was, I was at peace with it. And anyways, the very next day, I had somebody super random out of nowhere come up to me and just basically didn't say anything, just said, I know what you're going through, and God just told me to come and hug you. And I just started weeping, dude, fell to the floor. It was brutal. And so that was the nudge. It wasn't the start. But it was definitely okay, maybe there's hope. And so then I came back. I was working at another church. I was working at my parents' church at the time, New Life, and still struggling with all the coming out of the pornography and everything. And then basically my dad and mine relationship went completely south. I ended up throwing a computer on the floor, just completely ruined what I thought was going to be a relationship with my family. And at that day I left, and I told God, I'm done with you. I want nothing to do with you. Your church has let me down, religion has let me down. And if your church is what represents you, then I want nothing to do with you. And so I I became super bitter, super cynical, started reading everything I could to dissect God, and I decided, before I throw this all away, I'm just going to read about Jesus Christ, and I'm just going to learn who Jesus was. So I started reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and that's it. No Old Testament, no anything past that, just Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. I'm going to at least read about Jesus and at least get to know him and see if I can even get behind, forget about him being God, just get behind the character of Jesus. And then I got to the love your enemies scripture, and reading things that you almost hear. You're in church sometimes. They're read, but they're almost read through quickly because it's such a hard standard to live by. But if someone takes your coat, offer them your shirt. If somebody takes money from you, don't chase after them. In other words, when you think that your love is run out, God's love kicks in. Like the abundance of love. Don't ever run out of love. Love more. When you think you've loved enough, love even more. And so that at that point, then I was like, okay, I can actually get behind following this guy's teachings. But it was, what ended up happening was, the more I was reading and the more I was learning, the more God was revealing himself to me through the scriptures. And then that became for me something tangible to grab onto. It was no longer church or what everyone else believed. It was now like, this is what I believe. This is like becoming something ingrained in me. And so yeah.
Oh, I quit looking so helpless.